Adam Ferrara is my guest today. He is a comedian, an actor, a podcaster, and he was the host of Top Gear for 6 or 7 seasons. Plus, he's had some other interesting jobs he's going to tell us all about. And this is one of those easy episodes for me where I just get to sit back and let the guest go. And my goal, of course, with these podcasts is to entertain, educate, and inspire people. And I think we accomplished a lot of that on this episode. So a lot of great stories and wisdom from Adam Ferrara coming right up. All right. Looks like you got a professional setup because you have your own podcast.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I like your backdrop. This is actually the exterior of Abbey Road.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can't see. It says Abbey Road under that light, but this is the exterior of Abbey Road.
How did you get to set up over there?
That is Abbey Road desk, Studio 3, the tube desk. I think it was, I'll say 1969 before they went solid state. But that's the desk they had in Studio 3 that the Beatles did Tomorrow Never Knows on. And Pink Floyd did a bunch of stuff on that as well. And that's it. And then that's just a bunch of TV shit I got.
Oh, so it's like those are replicas?
Oh, no, this is they're both murals. This is a mural.
Oh, okay. You fooled me. Okay. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So this is my little, and the name of my studio is called Abbey Normal Recording Studios.
That's a reference to Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein and Abbey Road. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So tell me about that. Because you're a big Beatles fan, right?
Yeah. I was. When I was a kid, I learned how to play. I took guitar lessons, and my guitar teacher was a real Beatles fan, and he's the one that like kind of opened up my mind a little bit. Because when I was in my formative years, the edge was punk. So it was it was punk and disco, and either one. I'm like, well, disco, that four on the floor, bang, 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 drum beat, not really my thing. Funk I like because funk is on the one, bump, bump. So funk I like. And punk, I wasn't that angry, And look, I know 3 chords too, but I'm not shoving a clothespin through my face. So I went backwards because my guitar teacher was teaching me the Beatles songs as we were playing, and as his love of the Beatles transferred onto me. Then as I just got older, I just started reading books and listening to the music, and it's just what spoke to me. Everybody has their own muse, and that was one of mine.
Do you think how the Beatles made music, is there some sort of crossover with how you make comedy, like the creative process at all? Because I think and I hear this with a lot of musicians, is they say like, oh, the songs, they just come to me.
Yeah.
Is that how jokes come?
Some bits do. Some bits come fully formed. And I will tell you, I would aspire to have my work be on the level of the Beatles. I'll tell you who I liken my stuff to a lot is Pete Townshend of The Who, only because, and I had Glyn Johns on my podcast who produced Let It Be, and he produced Who's Next. He produced My Generation. He produced Zeppelin 1. He produced the Eagles, so I had him on the podcast, and I was talking to him. But the reason, I'm sorry, my ADD is raging today, Chuck.
No, you're fine.
The reason that I identify a lot with Pete Townshend is I have these grand ideas, and the jokes usually are connected to this grand idea that usually falls apart. Like one of my, I think my third special was called Funny as Hell, and part of that stand-up was supposed to be the narrative that weaved through a movie. So the stand-up was used as the narrative. I never got the financing to do it. It all fell apart. So I got a call to do a special. I go, well, I got these pieces. I'll put this together.
How did you do the part? Is that the one with where you do the opera bit? That was really I would assume that took a long time to practice that. And that's not something you just do on the spur of the moment.
No. The opera bit, I think it was either on the album Unconditional, the special Unconditional, or the special It's Scary in Here. I think it's on It's Scary in Here.
Yeah. Isn't that your latest?
That's the latest one that's out on YouTube. It's called It's Scary in Here. No, the opera bit was just, that's just a little song. And now, but the thinking and the delivery system of comedy and just the way we get our information now is it moved from albums to singles. If you look at the way the music industry, it went from the single big thing, and the album was just like, well, we throw some shit together.
Yeah.
Then in England, the Beatles would actually release singles and an album. So you'd have 2 singles and an album of songs that weren't on the album. United States, we didn't do that. So just the production of the music and the production of the output of the artist was in great demand, which it is now. But now it's like singles, because now when I write a bit, I don't need it to connect it to something bigger. I can write a bit to be in that 30-second minute bit and make it a complete thought and move on from there. Which kind of lends itself to my stuff too. Most of the bits I really like, they're about 30 seconds to a minute. It's not just a joke. And the bigger ones I have, like I got a bit about the anxiety derby is the name of the bit, and it's about 2.5 minutes. I did it on. What did I do? Oh, I did it on the James Corden show. And then when they asked me to do the show, I said, great, I'd like to do the show, but I want to do this bit. And this bit's like 2.5 minutes, so it's going to be half the set. And they said, fine, show up Tuesday. So building around that to get to that bit. So in answer to your question, I'm thinking more of how the bits connect, but also breaking them apart to use for social media.
Yeah. So before you did the music and before you did comedy, I mean, you had some other stuff that you did. You have a degree in finance, and you were like worked in a kindergarten school.
Can't
and
balance my checkbook, Chuck. Can't balance my checkbook.
So did like doing the fences? You did all this other stuff. Did that stuff help you kind of find the path of comedy? Or was it just like trial and error? Like, okay, I don't want to do this, I'll try something else. I don't want to do this. Or did you learn things from doing those jobs?
Any kind of experience. And the one thing that I did realize, it's funny you brought this up. The one thing I did realize is every experience comes into use. You just don't know how or when or in what form. My work ethic came from my dad, because my dad owned kitchens and bathrooms. He built kitchens. He owned a company that he did kitchens and bathrooms. He was a plumber. And my grandfather was a plumber, and he I can do more than this, not better, but more. So he would do the plumbing and then design everything. And he started working with my mom, and they built this business together. And there's no paycheck unless you get up in the morning. So my father got up in the dark. He came home in the dark. So that's I got my work ethic from my dad. And then just being in an environment where you had to work with other people to find out how you fit in, in the family. And like the fence company, I was doing everything. I was driving forklifts. I was driving trucks. And I wasn't good at any of it. I was, building. Not good at any of this stuff. I love cars, Chuck. I can't fix them. I love cars. My dad loves them. And I was working on the car one day, and I was doing my best, but the oil spilling, blood spurting, wrenches are falling. My father took a long drag off his lucky, put his hand on my shoulder and said, son, you're going to have to get a job and work at something the rest of your life. This ain't it. So
your brothers were better at that stuff. They became chefs. Is that what happened?
Yes, my brothers. Yeah, but they again, the mechanical gene. My brothers have maybe a little bit more than me, but my father really had it. My father built our house. I came home one day off the school bus. We lived on a corner, and we heard my mom and dad fighting because my father was building the house and he wanted a circular driveway. So we heard them fighting up in their bedroom. Why do you need a circular driveway, Joe? Because I don't want to back up. Okay. So I come home from school one day, I get off the bus. My father rented a bulldozer, and he's cutting the driveway into the front lawn. And I ran off the bus. I jumped on the bulldozer. I go, how you doing, Pop? He goes, how you doing, kid? I go, what are we doing? He's like, we're making a driveway today. I said, where'd you learn this? He's like, what learn? This is what we're doing today. And he's on a bulldozer, and he's grading the soil and cutting the driveway himself.
This is before YouTube. You can't just look this, because I know a lot of people do use YouTube. I feel like that's cheating. He just did a trial and error.
Just rented a bulldozer. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he did it, and the driveway looked great,
Okay.
So I think I got my work ethic. I know I got my work ethic from my dad. I learned how to. I read the words that are coming to me, but because every comic has a spidey sense. Every comic can feel a room, and most of us are want to relieve tension. In the room, in the family unit. That was most of the comics I've spoken to on my podcast, and guys I know, and just, comics I've known my whole life are just like, I would be the release valve, in the family. Also,
weren't you bullied too? Isn't that part of it? That you use the humor as a defense?
Yeah, on the school bus, if you're funny on the school bus, well, if they're laughing, they can't hit you, So, and if they're laughing and people like you, I think Carlin had the line, don't hit that. It's bad luck to hit that guy, So that kind of stuff kept you, it gave you a form of identity of where and how you fit in very much protection on the school bus. Yeah.
Yeah. So then music though is really the first time you get up on stage, and that's when you're like, okay, I feel alive. This is what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be on stage. It took a while to figure out the comedy. So with the music, you were in a band in college. What kind of music was that band?
Band stuff. We knew 11 songs, and we played Born to Be Wild twice. We had no repertoire, Chuck. That was.
But did you open for Lionel Richie? Is that what I heard?
I did stand up for an opening for Lionel.
Oh, okay. So not with the band. So the band was not very successful.
No, it was a bar band. It was a college bar band. But it again. Well, this ain't it, but being on stage gave me that, oh, okay, I like this feeling. And then when I did stand up for the first time on an open mic on Long Island, where I'm from, I got that ping and I went, oh, I don't know where this is going to end, but I belong here for now. Was that
the first time? Because I thought I've done stand up before. The first time, usually for open mic or something, don't you usually get your ass kicked? Isn't it usually people boo you?
Here's what happened to me. July 13th, 1988, Wednesday night, East Side Comedy Club, Long Island, New York. I sign up for the open mic. They tell me to be there at 8 o'clock. I make the mistake of telling my mother. My mother was the original Twitter. She would tell everybody. The whole neighborhood showed up, right? So everyone is there. The place is sold out, and I'm on. And I wrote some stuff down I was going to try. I'm nervous as hell. I go on stage, and somebody says something. One of my cousins said something, and I just answered him back and started riffing. I didn't know what I was doing, Chuck.
That's the talent though, because I can't do. Most people cannot riff.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I didn't know I had the ability, and the conditions were set where I knew who my cousin was. I go, would you shut up? There's people here, for God's sake. Look, Aunt Jerry came all the way out. She don't leave the house. Whatever I said. And she's not going to stay to the end of the set. All right, we got to go. That's going to happen. And they're all laughing. So it was like my house after Thanksgiving. And before I knew it, 5 minutes were over and I killed, and I got that high. I got the hit. And that's where I went, okay, I've never felt this before. I think in further experience, it was the first time I experienced the integrity of being. Say, think, feel, and do is all lined up at once, and you're just there, and you're just open, and it's coming through you. That's the first time I felt it. And I realized very early on that, okay, this is my state of grace. This is where I know I'm not thinking. I know that, and I know that that's how to make this work. And I could do it. Can't do it in my life, but I can do it here. It's like I just spoke to Colin Quinn. I just had him on my show, and one of the things when he writes, he writes to understand. He writes to his one-man shows to understand, and that's the impetus for him to attack a subject. I don't know. I'll take an idea on stage, and I don't know how I really feel about it until I'm in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I need the reflection. I don't know if I need to get out of my own way. I just know my state of grace is in front of an audience, not doing material. I just know that feeling. And most comics, when they're riffing, will kind of tell you the same thing. I don't want to speak for everybody, but it's that feeling we're chasing.
Yeah, because the riffing though, it's so amazing when you guys comedians can do that like so quickly. Like I can't remember which special it is. It's one of the ones I watched, and somebody coughs, and you just immediately I don't know if you guys have some kind of canned responses for things like that, or did you just think of that immediately? Because that's in your special. You left that in. You didn't cut that part out.
Which one?
Oh gosh, I think it was. I feel like I thought it was scary. What is it? What is it?
I'll be honest with you. You don't, when you're not thinking you are the best, and there's certain lines you can use after. You do have stuff that's in the library, but the best.
Like you have comebacks for hecklers and things like that.
Yeah, you got a little bit you can draw from, but for the most part, it's spur of the moment, because if you're doing it correctly, you're in the moment. If and correctly is a subjective term, but no, there's certain things you can say, the stock lines or stuff that you've done before that works. I know that one of the writing devices I use on stage is I'll mix my set up. I'll take two bits here. I know I want to get from this bit to this bit, and I'll go into the audience. And I know I'm going to go out of the audience. Either something will happen that'll draw me into the audience, or I'll use the end of that bit to ask a question of somebody in the audience, knowing I got to get from here to here. So whatever laughs I get along the way, wrap them up and make it that point, or use that point in your head to drag you there. And none of this stuff is conscious. I just know that that's where I want to go. You throw the intention out into the heads up display, and then all of a sudden things just get bigger.
That's cool.
It's hard to explain. It's like Michael Jordan explained when he's in the zone, the rim is
Yeah.
a big bucket. And this is like, I want to go here, I want to go there. And you just shut your mind up. It's the only time I can really trust anything. It's like you just trust the intention, it will happen. So
that's really cool.
I don't have it in my life. I don't trust anybody. All right, Chuck?
Yeah. But there are some comedians that aren't good at riffing, right? That have to be more structured. Like, I think you talked about Carlin. You're a big fan of him, obviously open for him, but you really liked, he had that structure. He didn't riff as much, right?
Carlin didn't say it to me, but said, I don't improvise, I memorize, And Colin Quinn does that too. Colin Quinn can riff, but he's got to write it down. Memorization is the hardest thing for him. And the only reason I keep bringing up Colin is I just spoke to him, so he's present in my mind. But one of my heroes was Chris Rush, which was a guy he's since passed away, and he was a comic that was just brilliant. I mean, you just give him a subject and he was gone, and I was like, your jaw's on the floor. Like, where's this guy channeling this from? Because this isn't coming out of a human being. So,
Chris Rush. Why have I know a lot of comedians? How have I never heard of that guy?
Chris Rush started with Carlin when Carlin was in the suit.
Okay, so he's real old school then.
He's dead now, but I got to know him when I was a kid starting out. In fact, I got this when he died. I got this on my desk. Chris Rush.
Okay.
CD. That's his cassette tape. But that was at the bitter end in New York. And he was a genius. And when I was a kid, I started doing comedy. The reason I worked a lot, Chuck, was I had a car. I lived on Long Island. I had a car and I had a work ethic. I would get one of the most honest booking agents I ever met in my life was a guy named John Shula. He used to book these shitty bars in Connecticut. And he would call me up, Adam, look, I got a gig. It's far away. The crowd sucks. And it's not a lot of money. You want it? Yeah. So I would take it. And I would have to pick up the headliners at the Improv when the Improv was in the city. It was on the west side. So I was on time. I was Uber before Uber. I was on time. The car was clean. There was water in it for the headlines. I pick them up and you're supposed to drop them off. That's the deal. And then they take a cab home. Well, I pick them up for work. I stuck the time. I didn't wreck the room. I worked a little cleaner than I usually work when I'm headlining because I know nobody really wants to follow a dirty comic. And my job is to set it up. So I knew what my job was and stick to your time. And then when we drop them off, I was supposed to drop them off at the Improv. I go, you're going to get out of my car to get into another car to go home. I'll take you home. Save the cab fare. Where do you live? So they would call up and say, I want to work with Adam. So that's why I got so much stage time because that was important to me. And just working for a living, I knew what the responsibility, or I knew how to identify what my job is in the bigger picture.
That's so smart. So how long, what is the time frame of you like grinding basically? And at what point did you decide
for the big break to happen, Chuck? What the fuck?
What are you talking about? You hosted Top Gear, you got Rescue Me, Nurse Jackie, you got all these specials, you do the roasts.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to work. But there is no one big break as far as grinding. The nice thing about when I started and when most guys, and I mean guys and girls, most comics start, that's what you want. So it's not work, it's, you want to be there. I was haunting the clubs on nights I weren't working just to be in that environment. That was the pull of, it pulls you there. It's like, this job it's not a job as much as it's a calling, and when you're younger and you have that desire and your life isn't complicated, that's where you want to be. So the grind is not really a grind because it's what you want.
But I just mean like where the point where you're making a live, you're not having to do side jobs and fence companies and all this other.
Very fortunate. That happened very early. It happened very early because it was a time when it could happen that early.
There wasn't that many comedians back then, right?
Not that many comedians. TV just found out it was really cheap to produce, and so did the bar owners. So I was making a living, but I always kept my day job because I didn't want to quit. I'll tell you how I quit.
Wait, which day job?
My last straight job was I was a dishwasher at a corporate office of a savings bank. The Long Island.
Even was this after you had the finance degree?
Yeah, I got out of college. I started selling binoculars at boat shows, and I was doing stand. I always worked for my dad. I always ran tools. I always was on a job site. I was always working for my dad when he needed me, and when I needed him. But then I started, okay, I got out with this degree. What am I going to do? So I got a sales job selling binoculars at boat shows for an optical company. And I went, shit, if I'm going to be on the road, I'll be on the road doing stand-up. But this is bullshit. I'm not doing this. So I did that. I started doing stand-up. I got a job at the fence company, which I've had all through high school. That was another place I could always go and pick up work at a fence company. I could always work with my hands, even though I wasn't good at it. So I could always do that. Then the last straight job I had was I needed something during the day so I can go out at night and do stand-up. And I didn't need anything. I needed a job that once I left, the job was done. So there was the Long Island Savings Bank had its corporate offices on Route 110 in Huntington, where I'm from. They needed a dishwasher. I said, okay. I applied for the job and I got it. And they're looking at me, go, you're a dishwasher? I go, that's me. That's me. Spiffy Ferrara, they call me. Well, you can eat off
so you don't think I'm above this? I've got a degree in finance. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm too good to be. You're like, I'm just gonna do something that pays the bills.
9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a bank job, so I got benefits, and I could do it hungover. No, I just got to be there.
Yeah.
Wash the dishes, say goodbye. What do you know? When I quit that job, Kevin James wanted that job. We lived together.
Tell me about that. You guys shared an apartment together or something? Was that like a sitcom in reality, or would people be disappointed if we saw what went on there?
Yeah, it was basically I was washing dishes and Kev was working at Granger, a supply house, and we were doing stand up at night. And that was the community I came out of. And the reason I quit the job was I got my first weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was hosting in Syracuse. I had to drive all the way up to Syracuse and I take off Thursday and Friday to do this gig. So I knew 3 weeks. I said, I need these days off. They said, you can't have those days off. I said, I need Thursday, Friday off in 2 weeks, whatever it was. I'm sorry, you can't have those days off. I said, okay, I quit. What? He goes, you can't quit. I go, look, I'm leaving. The only question is, am I coming back? I'm telling you I'm leaving. Do you want me back or not? He's like, his head started spinning around because it's a dishwashing job. I don't care.
Well, so was it you made enough on the weekend to not have to have the dishwasher?
Making enough. I've always worked. I have provider's anxiety, so I'm always working. So I always wanted to keep a job, to have money in my pocket. I just always was working. So I said, look, I quit. I'm not coming back. So the afternoon they came back, goes, all right, we'll give you those 2 days off. But I don't know what's so important. I said, I know. Okay. I did. So they gave it to me. They gave it back. I got another week. I said, I need these days off. I go, I quit again. Again.
How long did this go on for? Or was that the end?
They knew what I was doing. I told them what I was doing. I said, I quit. I go, don't you people know this is not important to me.
Right, right.
I quit.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious. Okay. So then what?
So then I quit the job and I forget why I quit the job. I quit because I was getting work. And I was like, all right, I got to take.
You got enough at that point. Yeah.
And Kevin, I just started with Kevin. And I met him.
He's a funny stand-up. I don't think people know that. Like, he had a special before King of Queens. Like, he's a great stand-up.
We didn't have enough money to do. We didn't have enough money. We didn't have enough stand-up time to do gigs on our own. So what Kevin and I would do is we would do these college gigs where he did whatever stand-up he had, I did whatever I had, and we could do improv together because we knew the improv games and we were good at that. So that's how we did it. And this is how important comedy was to us. I think it was Super Bowl 25. You got to check me. It was the Giants are playing the Bills.
Oh, that's a big one.
Wide right.
Norwood. Yeah.
Norwood's wide right. We listened to that call on the side of the New York State Thruway in his old Hyundai in a snowstorm heading to some gig at Jefferson College. We pulled over to hear the call.
Wow.
Yeah. So comedy was more important. A nooner. Comedy was more important to us
than the Super Bowl.
Than the Super Bowl.
And that's your team. That's New York.
I'm a Jets fan. See, I'm a weird hybrid guy because my father was a Giants fan, but I did a report on Joe Namath in the second grade, a book report, and I went, "This is the coolest guy I've ever met." Holy shit! So I'm more of a Jets fan.
You wore a freaking fur coat on the sideline.
Yeah, and I met him. Cool. I met him with Kevin on the sidelines of a Jet game. I can tell you a story off the air, but it was a good story.
Oh shit! Yeah, definitely tell me. I love the clip of him where he's like, "I want to kiss you." And like, I think that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I think he quit drinking after that.
He did. That was. I was playing the Ontario Improv, and it was a Sunday night, and I think that was when Paul McGuire was calling the games, and I was shaving. I was in the bathroom shaving, and the game was on. And the first break, I'm like, that sounds like. I remember thinking to myself, that sounds like Namath, but it sounds like Namath who was hitting the head, because he was scared. Shaving, washing my face, came out, I'm getting dressed. He's like, I really want to kiss you. I went, he's loaded. I go, Joe's loaded.
He was. Yeah. He was a happy drunk, though.
Yeah, he was a happy drunk.
Yeah, a little creepy drunk, but not so funny for the female reporter. But yeah, so but then you're doing the comedy for a few years. So it was 91 or 93. You had two like TV film jobs. Like the first one, I think you were kind of maybe like an extra, and then you had that one, the sitcom with the Taya Leoni. Which was there one of those where you walked in and you're like,
oh yeah, that was the one. I had come out to LA to do. I think it was Tonight Show. I was coming out to do stand-up Strip Live on Fox. It was one of those shows, right? So I was coming out to do it. And while I was here, I auditioned for that sitcom, and I got it. And I'm like, ooh. And Chuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I made it up. I didn't know what I'm doing. So I get to the set, and Michael Tucci from Grease was on that show. Taya Leoni, by the way, Taya Leoni, stunning, nice, stunning, and nice as the day is long. Beautiful woman. Corey Parker was on the show. It was amazing to me. I was like, and I got that feeling like, oh, I want to be here. But I knew I didn't know. I knew enough to know I didn't know. And Tucci was a sweetheart. He pulled me in because he saw me looking at him like, you in Grease, And then we started talking. He goes, come here. He goes, are you an actor? I go, listen, I'm a stand-up. I'm like, oh my God. I bullshitted my way into this. And he started laughing, and he was taking me through. He goes, well, you know what you're doing. I said, he said camera right, and I just nodded. I got no fucking idea.
It's that you're that far off. You don't know what these terms mean?
Adam, downstage. And I went, of course. Chuck, I'm not used to being on a stage with other people. I'm a stand-up.
Right.
At the places I'm working, a stage was a luxury. Are you kidding me? I'm working these bars in Connecticut and New York. I would go up to the owner, goes, what time does the show start? He would spit on his own floor and go, as soon as you turn around and start talking. Oh, okay. I thought maybe it'd be a formal thing, like a light or a microphone.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit. So he kind of took me under his wing a little bit just for that week, and I realized I like this, and this is something you can study, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I did.
Is that where you learned from the guy? What's his name? Stephen Booking?
Yeah, Stephen Book. Great book. Book on Acting. I highly recommend his book. The Actor Takes a Meeting is another great book. And I met him, and I enrolled in that class, and that's been invaluable to me. And as a stand-up too, because I was afraid, and a lot of the guys I started with kind of had this fear too, because we really didn't know what made us funny yet. That if you study acting, you're not going to be funny anymore because it's going to take away whatever that magic is. It's an unfounded fear, but still one I had, and I fought it for a long time to apply what I took to the stage. But now I think it's in the machine. So when I'm on stage and an idea comes out, other ways to go come out as well, if that makes any sense. It's like when I'm writing, I don't have to write just from my point of view. Every comic wants to develop their point of view, but now I can hear the other voices. So they're more like scenes when I'm writing, because I'm conditioned to look at a script like, what's my part of the whole, not just what do I want to say on this topic. You can put things in a context. Another for stand up for me.
Do the directors have a lot of flexibility when I guess with TV, probably not, right? Like you probably just do a read through and then it's go time, right? You don't have a lot of time to try different takes and try different ways.
Well, on a television schedule, not really. And then it depends, like, because that was 3-camera, that was multi-camera. So I was in front of a live audience. You got to hit your marks. You can try different alternative lines if they don't get the laugh. The jokes change in, when you do run throughs and stuff. So things do change, and you get to improvise once in a while. But you stay in that structure, single camera, which is stuff without the audience. Depending again on your shooting schedule, you got time to play, you play. You don't, move on. And movies, you get a little bit more time. Independent movies, not so much. Studio movies, yeah, it will take a little time. And it depends who you are. Like I just did a bunch of guest stars. And when a guest star, what was the one I just did where I had to cry? I did Criminal Minds. So I played the father of a kid that was abducted. So there's a scene where I break down in the FBI office because my kid was abducted. I got to cry. 8 o'clock in the morning, I got to cry. And I'm the first setup because the regular cast is like, shoot the guest stars first. I'm only going to get 2 takes. I know that because they don't, I'm just there to move the story along. So you got to be up and running and ready to go.
Can you cry on cue?
But that day I could. Yeah, you can use breath patterns to get the body to think sad. There's certain things that go with sad. Yeah, it's part of my job. This is what do I got to do? When do I got to do it? But they don't go, all right, cry now. You got a script. You know what you're responsible for. And working with Dennis Leary as much as I had conditioned me as well because he's got that blue collar work ethic too.
That's what Michael Lombardi told me. I had him on. He said, like he comes from a similar kind of family, it sounds like. So it's very like he learned from watching Dennis Leary how to like manage things and people, and because he directed his movie.
Yeah.
Lombardi. I don't know if you saw The Retaliators. It's coming out. I don't know if it's out. Yeah, that was cool.
It's a work ethic. It's like, and Dennis is like, well, you go. I remember once he was sitting in Video Village and, he said, "Oh, I hate the way this scene ends. Make me laugh." Okay, and that was it. We would. The direction we had was, he would. I remember when the guest stars came on. Who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was, but we've known each other so well. We would say, "All right, do this," and then you get the laugh, and then we'll go out on me. You leave the scene. Okay, so we come up to that line. I would improv a line, walk off stage, walk out of set, and we'd go out on Dennis's face, and it got the laugh. Cut. Everyone laughed. It was great. Moving on. So
wow, that's such a cool show. I just got into that after I had Lombardi on, and so I started. Well, I'm not to your season yet because I don't think you show up till season 3. But
3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, is that show? I mean, is there ever going to be a show like that again? Because I'm watching this and it's like, it's in a way, it's so refreshing to me because I grew up in the 80s and 90s and, guys would call each other names that you can't say now. And so I'm watching Rescue Me and I'm like, oh, this is like the old days, like guys being guys. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think you can now anymore. It's like you couldn't. I was funny. I was reading a Mel Brooks book. And they asked him in the book, he goes, "Do you think you can make Blazing Saddles today?" He's like, "I couldn't make it then." I'm surprised we got away with the shit we got away with. So, yeah, it's of its time. There's things of its time. I mean, you look at stuff now that you look at commercials on TV, you look at old cartoons. It's the sensitivity. If art's any good, it reflects society, or it is a vision of what society could be. So,
or was at the time. Yeah. And there's definitely times like, I think I rewatched Blazing Saddles because I thought about that. I was like, that movie's such a classic. And I remember liking it. And then I rewatched it. And that was kind of one where I went, there's some kind of cringy things in this movie. Yeah. Like Rescue Me. There are some things where I'm like, maybe they shouldn't say that. But at the same time, it's such a great show. Like,
yeah, but it is of its time. So.
Yeah, no, that's a fun one. I can't wait to get to your season. Then you did Nurse Jackie too. You did like 20 episodes of that one.
That was fun. That's when if I had to pick an escalation point, not a big break, but an escalation point of being an actor, I think that was it for me because I wasn't using my father as a structure, Chuck, because on Rescue Me, my character was an authority figure. But he was still a contemporary. He had one foot as being one of the guys. And because of 9/11, my character, the chief, was thrown into a leadership position because all the other guys are dead. And that's just what happened to New York City, to the FDNY. So I was the guy that had to straddle that. That was what my character was. So in order to draw on an authority figure, I drew on my dad because that's who I knew, So I had not a backstop, but a framework. And to play a romantic lead, which is what I had to play co-starring with Edie, Falco, it opened up a whole nother place of where I had to be when I had to apologize to her, when I had to do all this not grown up acting, but not guy kind of. You know, I had more places I needed to go as an actor that were afforded to me on Rescue Me, if that makes any sense. And
no, yeah. So
space,
it pushed you basically,
and to be in that space and to push me with Edie Falco. Fuck, you got to bring your A game quick, baby.
Were you a Sopranos fan?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I lived it, so it was like watching home movies. but watching her, yeah.
Just because that's true. Like I have an Italian friend. He's like, oh, every Italian family has some sort of connection to the mob somewhere.
Some kind of. It's always like my mother. I'll go back to my podcast. I had my mother on my podcast once, and she was my great grandmother. Had a safe house up in the Bronx, so when the boys had to hide out, they paid the rent and they came in, and that's where they stayed and they cooked for them, and God knows what else went on there.
Wow.
But yeah. So my mother told me that story. So yeah, it is what it is, But as far as The Sopranos, the acting on that was just so great. And she's just, God, is she good?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Just to be in the scene with her is just, it's like when they say you're generous as an actor, she is so open in there. It's just like, it's difficult to articulate, but that's what the generosity of another artist is. When you're invited into that space, whatever the circumstances of that space are, she makes it makes it easier to be there with her. And we're both from Long Island, so a lot of the eye rolls and subtle body language. We drank water from the same well, so the connection was pretty easy and immediate.
It's not very subtle on the East Coast, though, isn't it? People are a lot more direct. I'm from the West Coast. I kind of like the East Coast better, though. Yeah,
because there's no time for bullshit. There's no.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you have feelings. So do I. They don't enter into this. You're in my way. It's density population for one. New York City, there's 8 million people on a 26-mile island. No one's got time to wave good morning. Someone's going to take a cab. So, and it's weather. I think weather's got a lot to do with it. You got to overcome weather and shit. I'm in Santa Monica right now. It's beautiful. I'm 17 blocks from the beach. It's like, the weather report in Santa Monica it's gorgeous, slightly windy. See you tomorrow. That was it.
So is it harder to work in that kind of weather? Because I'm in Arizona and it's like sunny every day, and it makes you want to go out and do things and not be in working.
It's harder to. It's a beautiful day. Let's take this day, but not for me because my head is just like, I need to take advantage of things, but. I think when you got to overcome weather, January morning, 6 o'clock, it's dark, your car's covered with snow. I got to get my ass up and get to work and at a job I don't want to go to. And, so it develops a little bit of an edge, and you're on the highway with people that are feeling the same shit you are, leaning on the horn. And, so it's a different kind of exposure to, and you're more free with your emotions too on the East Coast because it's more accepted. You can scream and yell and go, that's just Adam. Well, that's just Anthony.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like even
makes it what is.
Yeah, I grew up in Seattle, and I feel like it was people were so introverted, and then I came to Arizona, and
raining.
Yeah, I think that must be. Yeah, people just kind of keep their head down. I moved to Arizona, and it's sunny, and people are so much more friendlier here. It's very. And then I go to the East Coast. I've just visited there, but yeah, it's totally different. People are more direct, and people from the East Coast, they have that like kind of more personality like yours, where you're more open, direct, and.
Yeah, there's just no time. It's like your feelings aren't in this. It's what we got to do. It's more the doing of the moment rather than what you're bringing to the moment. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Is that harder navigating in this woke culture, whatever you want to call it? Like where there's a lot more sensitivities. It's got to be harder for people from the East Coast to kind of navigate, especially like old school men, like the people on Rescue Me, like those guys, old New Yorkers. I mean, they got to have a tough time.
It's not. It's funny. I was having this conversation with my wife. The delivery system is different. The delivery system is different. So
the intent is not.
The intent's not. I mean, hopefully, it depends on the assumption you operate on. Yeah, I think, look, man is basically good. I have to tell myself that. Otherwise, I'd kill everybody. I can't have this. Yeah, man. So it's like if your intention is good, but your execution is because of whatever bullshit's happened to you or however you see the world, you got it. But no one has time to deal with your bullshit, especially on the East Coast. Don't bring your bullshit to work. This is what we're working. So as far as people's opinions and feelings and stuff, I always look at it like we're basically good, but we're caught in this body, right? We're caught in this, the spirit is caught into this cell. So we're all in jail. We're all in this human jail. Behave yourself in the day room. When you go back to your cell, let your feelings out. If you're in the day room, behave yourself. You're among other people, or you're going to get shivved. So basically, behave yourself in the day room. So everyone's walking around the day room going, I have feelings. Stab him. Stab him. It's too loud. He's annoying me. Stab him.
Yeah.
So, but you have to, I try to at least set an intention to treat people as I would want to be treated and respect someone else's feelings and belief systems and everything. You know, my belief system says I can't do this. Fine, good. My belief system says you can't do this. Well, fuck you twice. Now we got to
There you go. No, that's true. Do you have to adjust your comedy sets depending on, like, you're coming to Phoenix, so like you're going to do a different set than you would have done in California or New York?
I'm not gonna. I might talk about different things depending on because I always like to walk around, and I love the Tempe Improv. The people are great. The staff is great. It's one of the best clubs in the country, so I'm very pleased to be coming back. And I always walk around and find something new to write about. And I always look at my opening lines as like, okay, last time I was here, now I'm here. You know, it's. I just think I want to bring a fresh energy of we're in this together again, and this is what I noticed from the last time I'm here. So just to bring everybody together, it just when you're invited over someone's house, you walk in, you go, I love what you've done with the lawn, even if you don't mean it. You're being invited over, so I will find something to talk about, and it depends. It's always talking about. I'm not changing for a different environment, especially in a club. If I'm doing a corporate, you change because it's a corporate.
Yeah,
in a way.
sure.
Anytime it doesn't say comedy club or theater, it's an away game. So you adjust accordingly.
You'll do a little bit of riffing, like, because that's one thing like I love is the roasts. I was trying to find, you've done 2 of the roasts, right? I was trying to find your clips. I couldn't find them.
I think Comedy Central still owns them because I did them. Which ones did I did? Rob Reiner.
Yeah, Rob Reiner and Justin Bieber, I think, right?
And did I do I know I was at the The dog says Justin Bieber.
Okay. Yeah, so I was trying to find the Rob Reiner one, and I saw.
Did Dennis's Leary?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
We roasted Reiner. I was at the Hugh Hefner roast. I don't think I did that one.
Oh.
And I was at a couple of other ones, but I was a guest at a bunch of them, and I think I only did 2 or 3.
How do you write material for the roast like that?
It's hard.
Is it hard?
Well, it's hard because you can't try it out. You can't. You can try them out. But the person's not there, and they're also difficult because there's no whatever topics there are, depending on where you are in the set. A lot of stuff's been walked over, and you see guys crossing shit out all the time. And the only reason I did it was Jeff Ross asked me to do it, and I said, Jeff, I can't. I'm shooting a show. I can't. I don't have the time. He said, do the roast. He goes, you can't. I said, I'm busy. He goes, you're not busy. You're scared. I go, all right, you're right. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I said, plus, I'm not a friar. He goes, don't ever act out of fear. And he went, bang, bang, bang. You're a friar. I went, all right, now I got to do it. So I did it. And
wow.
He pushed me, yeah.
That's so good. That's such good advice, though. I've heard that from a lot of people. You got to push past that fear.
Yeah.
That's where all the great things are.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't go away, Chuck. It's not like once you get
really
past one thing, I don't think it does.
No, you don't get nervous to go on stage anymore or anything like that.
You still feel if you don't get nervous anymore, you're not funny anymore.
But not as bad. Like when I started this podcast, I remember like the second episode. I mean, I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh God, I'm so scared." And now it's a lot. I mean, yeah, I guess there's a little bit there, but I think it's more for me. It's like excitement, and that's a very close.
Good. The energy is the same. It's just how you channel it. But good. The minute you stop feeling that, turn off the microphone because you're not bringing anything to it.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. So, how do you find new challenges in what you're doing now?
I have a challenge every fucking day.
All right, fair enough. Are you going to do more like
changing? That's life is always changing, and you are always if you're any good as an artist, you got to change too.
Well, it's because cool. You did all the acting and you've done the comedy, but the other thing we didn't talk about that I didn't even know. I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. I did not know you were the host of Top Gear. I mean, I've heard of Top Gear, but I'd never watched it, and I was like, oh, he hosted that? That's like a pretty big show, right?
Yeah, well, that was fun. That was for those of you who don't know the show. It's an automotive adventure, for lack of a better word, buddy show.
Right.
Me, Tanner Faust, and Rutledge Wood. The show's run for 25 years, I think, in the UK, and we were the American version. We did about 6.5 seasons of it. Went all around the world, Chuck. They flew me all around the world. They put me in these cars that cost more than the house I grew up in. They flew me to Germany. They gave me the brand new Lamborghini, the Hurricane, when it came out. They put me in the left lane of the Autobahn. And they said, go.
How fast did you go?
173 in the left lane, which
Wow.
is fucking stupid because there's people going to work. It's not a track. It's not a runway.
You're right. Yeah. There's just like, but is that how fast do people go on the Autobahn? Because there's no speed limit, right?
No speed limit. So there's just some guy in a Volkswagen Rabbit just going to work like this. And this lunatic that sounds like he's flying past him at 173. He's not even blinking.
Because they're used to that.
Yeah. So
How many lanes is it though? Is it? Oh, it's only two?
It was 2 lanes.
Okay.
Which I was on was 2 lanes. I was like, all right, this is
Well,
dumb.
it's a good thing the rabbit was in the right lane then.
Boom.
Dang.
So,
Which episodes of that show stand out to you like as the most memorable? Obviously, that must have been one of them. What else?
Good. I drove up a volcano in Iceland in a Chevy diesel non-turbo pickup, so it was a slow trip. That one, the volcano in Iceland, was a big one for us. We went to Cuba, was good. We did an episode in Cuba.
Ooh, like the 50s cars?
Like American Graffiti. The embargo was what, 61, I think. The last car I saw was like 59. There was like a 59 Caddy down there. And they have to take care of them because there's no Pep Boys. There's no O'Reillys. There's no parts. They take the motors out of them and they put in Power Stroke diesels because they can get them. So, and everything is Frankenstein. There's a guy you go to if you need like a gasket. He takes old tires and a machete and he chops the rubber up. He's got a compressor from an industrial freezer, and that's his lathe. And he sharpens a piece of glass and he's cutting by eye these gaskets to fit whatever you need to fit. It's amazing. He was on the show.
Wow.
So yeah, that episode amazed me. The Journey episodes I really like because we would go camp. We did the Rubicon Trail. We went rock crawling. We went to Alaska a bunch of times, and those I like because we were all together. It was like a family. Top Gear, because it had to be. It was a hard show, man. There were no trailers. There was no craft service. There was just we were out on a desert. Well, we're all we had going through the desert for us and the crew.
Yeah, I was watching some of the episode where you're in Arizona and you guys are testing out the different ones and you go through the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was
cool.
Like I said, I'm trying to think if I got anything cool shit here to show you. Okay, let me show you this. See that tachometer?
Yeah.
That's a tack from a 78 mail Jeep that I think I took a Sawzall to and cut everything off of it because I cut off the roof and the fenders and had to get all the weight off of it. And I think we wanted to see if the engine would run on Bisquick instead of oil. I think we did that. I forget.
Wow.
But I got a bunch of stuff. I'm a bunch of car stuff from all the episodes we did. I jumped a Caddy about 40 feet in the air, a 76 Coupe de Ville, and I took the badges off of it because I'm like, this thing saved my life. So
did you ever get to drive did they ever have you driving like famous movie cars or like Dukes of Hazzard car or something like that?
They took the original, I'll say it was the Mach 3. It was a 66 GT40, the race car, the one that actually raced in Le Mans, 66, I think it was. And they took it out of the museum and I drove it. It's right-hand drive. And I only drove it 6 feet because it was a museum piece, but I drove it. And the guys from the museum with it, they opened it up and this big block right here by my head. They started up, flames are shooting out of the carburetor. Guy comes over and goes, yeah, it does that. I'm like, not by my head. And I could only drive it on camera. So I've never driven this thing before, right? It's right-hand drive. Cameras are on, they say action. And it's 40 inches. That's where it got the name, the GT40. So I'm in the actual race car. I put my foot on the clutch. The clutch isn't really set up. So now my knee is actually in my chest. And I'm driving this car past the camera just to get the shot. Shift gears, get it there. Cut! Get out. Guys from the museum come over, open up the door. They go, you did good. Most people stalled it. And they come in and get
Wow.
Yeah, so I drove that. They took Fred Astaire's 1927 P1 Rolls Royce out of the Peterson because we were doing a piece on the on the Wraith, the Rolls-Royce Wraith when it came out, which is the 2-door coupe, which was beautiful. So they bought that out so I could tell the story. And I drove his actual Rolls-Royce, a Fred Astaire owned, that the Peterson let us do it. Again, right-hand drive, non-sync transmission. I'm driving pre-depression area farm equipment. Just
I'm surprised it still works.
Yeah, it works fine. I told the camera guys, I go, all right, when I'm making any turns, I get second gear, and that's it. I can't.
Wow.
I'm not breaking this thing. So,
have you ever broken any cars or gotten any wrecks? Or
the shit out of a bunch of them. Yeah. What did I wrecked a
the
bunch
show
of them.
pays for that, though.
Yeah, expensive show. Like that Caddy, that 76 Caddy. I bananaed that thing. That's on the internet. Flying Coupe de Ville. Look that one up. That's cool. I pushed a V6 Mustang off a cliff in the Grand Canyon with a hang glider on it to see if I could get it to fly. I made an amphibious boat out of a Boston Whaler and a Jeep Wrangler. I think that's sunk in Lake Ontario. In fact, I know it's sunk in Lake Ontario. We couldn't find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So your dad was a big car guy too, right?
Yeah, that's where I got my love of cars, with being with my dad. So
But
I learned.
But when that show started, had he already passed? Did he never get to see you host that?
I never got to see it. That was the thing. Yeah, never got to see it. I was shooting a movie in New York. And my brother called me and said, "Pop's in the hospital." And I went, "Holy shit!" And we went. It was cancer. We got the diagnosis, and I remember I went back to them. They were very kind to me. Let me run home. I went back to the movie, and I remember sitting in the trailer, and thinking, I don't know how this is going to end. I remember thinking he's going to beat it. I remember convincing myself, and I had got the call for Top Gear a couple of days after that. And then I showed my father the clips online, because it wasn't on TV. It was online. It was all on YouTube. And I showed him the clips and everything. They were English, right? So my dad was like, "Oh, this is the Beatles." So he got to see the clips, and it was a long process for me to get the job. So he was with me during the process, but as his health declined, he passed away before I got the gig. But I like to think he was with me, because I should have been dead a couple of times, Chuck. So I like to think he went,
really?
Overcorrect the steering.
From the cars, you're saying, yeah.
From the cars, yeah. I should.
Yeah. Tell my audience though the story though when you got the call of the diagnosis. I thought this is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. Like you're working on the show, definitely maybe, and you get the call and you're in your trailer and you're supposed to go work on the show. And your co-star, Derek Luke.
Derek Luke, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That was one of the most, this is one of the reasons that was reinforced to me that man is basically good. Met this guy at the table read. "Hi, how you doing? Nice guy, Got a call, supposed to go. We're walking to start a scene. I just got the call. Face is white. And Derek goes, "Are you all right?" I go, yeah, I'm fine. I'm trying to keep it together, because I'm still processing it, And he goes, "I forgot something." He goes, "Can you come back to my trailer for a minute?" And we told the stage manager, "Give us a minute." He came back. He goes, "You're not all right." He goes, "No." And I started breaking down. I said, "My pop just got diagnosed with, my brother says he thinks it's cancer." Chuck, he didn't take a beat. He grabbed my hands. He dropped to his knees and started praying out loud for me and my family and my dad. I met this guy a day ago, said hello at a craft turbo.
And you're not a religious guy. I'm not a religious guy, but for some reason that story is so cool to me.
That story is, I'm not a religious dude. Doesn't mean I don't believe in some sort of guiding principle, which I like to call love. Some people call it Doug. Some people call it something else.
But it's just another human just showing compassion in his way. That was his thing. He was religious. And that was his way of showing compassion to you. It's cool.
And you know what? He wasn't even thinking about it. That's not what he did. That's who he is.
I got to get that guy on my show someday, but
I don't even know if he remembers it. I think that was Tuesday for him. For me, it was an act of kindness that has informed my understanding of mankind. For him, I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's just who he is.
Well, and for you, your role in the world as a comedian is to make people laugh and bring joy. And you do that. You get a lot of messages that people reaching out that you've changed their life. Right.
That's the nice part. When it takes on a bigger life than itself. I did a bit. I did a bit in my third special, I think it was, about my dad going to chemo and cancer. And I was very pleased that bit grew up to be something other than a bit. I got, not to be self-serving, but I got asked by Professor Eddie Freefeld to license the bit to teach as a teaching tool for Yale drama and NYU writing class, because the emotional turn in the bit was, my father goes through cancer and I bring the audience way down.
Yeah, the pause.
Long, and then the right cross gets the applause.
I've never seen that in a stand-up routine. Rarely do you have you take it so seriously, and there's this pause, and you can hear a pin drop, and then all of a sudden you make us all laugh. It's brilliant.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, so I'm just proud of that, because that reached other people, and even on the podcast, even the stuff, this medium, you don't know who you have no idea, and then you're out somewhere, and someone come up after a show and goes, "Man, that show got me through," whatever it is, however the voice resonates. You're not alone. You're not sitting in your loneliness. You're not sitting in the thoughts that plague you. You just you reach for something, and if you reach for something that's on your phone, that's my voice or your voice, it serves a bigger purpose. So
awesome. I love it. Well,
money in it, Chuck.
What's that?
We need more money, Chuck.
Yeah. Hey, I monetized my YouTube channel, so I'm making a little something. It's not a lot, but it's I can say that I'm a paid podcaster.
I got one. We qualify. My wife is telling me we got to use. I don't know. I'm going to call you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll help you set it up. It's as long as you have to get 1,000 subscribers, which I'm sure you'd have way more than that.
We got that. She says we got all the stuff we need. So.
Yeah, it's just then they got to get proof that you're in America and that you're in the city you say that you're in. So it's not some Russian disinformation campaign or whatever. So I don't know.
Do I look like a Bolshevik? I'm full of Bolshevik.
No, Italian and Jewish, right? Isn't that
Italian?
Is it? No, 100% Italian.
That's it. 100%.
Why did I get the Jewish part?
I grew up in an Italian Jewish neighborhood, and I did
that's what it was.
A couple of bits about it in one of my specials. So
that's what it was.
Yeah. The culture.
Okay.
But yeah. Cool.
Well, I'll let you get to your next, whatever you're doing, because I know you're such a workaholic, but I always end up promoting a charity. And I think your publicist said Leary Firefighter Fund.
Firefighter's Fund, yes. Dennis does a great job for the firefighters. I got to know a bunch of them personally just working on the show. And they come out to see me do stand-up. So if anyone's, I don't know when this drops, I'll be at Tempe Improv Thanksgiving weekend 25 through 27 of November. And I always invite the firefighters out as well. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to try to catch one of those. I definitely will catch one of the shows, because I think you have 3 shows that weekend. So
yeah. So please come up, say hello after the show, and let me ask you some YouTube questions.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you then. Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed that episode. I know I did. Sometimes you just click with a guest, and I feel like Adam and I clicked, and I'm really proud of how the episode turned out. So make sure to support Adam by following him on social media, liking, sharing, and commenting on his content, and go see a live show if he comes to your town. And you can support my little show in much the same way with the likes, comments, and shares. No live shows yet, but make sure you are subscribed to the podcast so that you won't miss future episodes. We have some good ones coming up. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day and shoot for the moon.